Charles Martel of Anjou closed his remarks to Dante by forbidding him from writing what he had said to him about the tragedies which would befall his relatives who wronged him. Rather, Charles told the great Florentine poet to allow the events to unfold naturally. Dante then saw Charles turn toward the sun. This made Dante reflect on foolish souls by saying, "All souls deceived and creatures impious, who from such good do turn away your hearts, directing upon vanity your foreheads." Canto 9, 10 through 12. As the souls sang Hosanna, a soul of woman then approached Dante. At Beatrice's behest, he asked the soul who she was and learned it was that of Cosina da Romano, a lover of Sordello da Ghetto. She recalled how her brother Asilino III da Romano had caused destruction in the Piwa and Brunta river valleys. She further said that she and her fellow souls were without regret, as regrets are only for those that are not in heaven. Fuccio de Marseglia was standing next to her on the left. According to her, his legacy, attesting to his pursuit of pious excellence, would last for 500 years. However, the natives of the Marsa Trevigana had not learned to follow Fuccio's example, which would prove fatal for the Guelph Paduna army at Vicina in 1314. Cunicia de Romana additionally prophesied the murder of the tyrannical and philandering Rizzardo IV de Camino, who ruled Treviso. In 1312, this murderous prophecy would be fulfilled when he was killed with a pruning hook by a serf during a chess match. Finally, she prophesied the tragedy committed by Bishop Alessandro Novello of Belno e Feltri, a Trevisan native, in 1314. He will allow 3 Ferresi Ghibelline brothers and their associates to find refuge in Feltro. However, in an effort to prove his loyalty to the Guelphs, Bishop Alessandro would surrender these 30 refugees to Governor Pino della Tosa of Ferrara. The governor would then have all 30 men executed. According to Casina, the treachery committed by the bishop was worse than the heresies committed by the ecclesiastics imprisoned on Bistina Island. Cosina reminded Dante that the third highest order of angelic beings, known as the thrones, known as Ophanim in Judaism and the Christian Old Testament, are angels responsible for distributing the Father's judgments. Having said this, Cosina rejoined her companions in their worship of the Father. Fuccio de Marsiglia then approached the great Florentine poet, the latter thinking the Genoese troubadour and the diocesan bishop of Tolosi looked like a fine and bright ruby. The reason Fuccio's countenance was like a fine ruby was due to his amplified joy in heaven. This amplified joy increased how bright his soul was. Flochetto de Marzilla remained silent, which confused and intrigued Dante. When the great Florentine poet questioned him about his silence, Flochetto began his remarks by conveying world geography. The largest body was Oceanus, which was the classical term for the Atlantic, as it was thought to surround all land masses. It was followed by the Mediterranean Sea, the most important sea for Italy. Flochetto spoke of his hometown, the coastal city of Marseille. He had been inundated with intense love, just as Dido had love for Aeneas, much to the bereavement of Sicanus, her late husband, and Cerisa, Aeneas' late wife. While it is true that he was a diocesan bishop and a great troubadour, in which he sinned with his art, the sins he had committed were no longer remembered. They smile, though, at the thought that, but at the power which ordered and foresaw. 9:105. As Flochetto was speaking, Dante could see another soul standing next to the bishop. That soul was so interesting to Dante that Flochetto, since the great Florentine poet wanted to know her identity, the lofty soul then stood beside Flochetto and seemed enveloped in a crystalline sunlight. That soul was Rahab, the heroic harlot of Jericho and the great-great-grandmother of King David. At the Harlem of hell, her soul left paradise or the bosom of Abraham and was the first soul to come to Venus. Her life and testimony was something, though, that Pope Boniface VIII could not conceive. Flochetto stated that the transgressions of Florence were planted into the city by the devil himself. He further reproached the gold florins which corrupted the city and the clergy. The greed of the clergy had resulted in the negligence of theological truth and sexual depravity. The negligent greed of the clergy even caused the martyrdom of the pious and desecrated the Vatican. According to Flochetto, Rome and the Vatican would soon be free from this adultery. Canto 9, 142.